Okay, my name's Brian McNeill. I come from Tarbert, Argyll, on the west coast of Scotland, UK. I first came to China, where I am now, was for stem cell treatment. Over 1 year ago, it was May last year, I first came over for treatment for my condition called cerebellar hereditary ataxia, SCA1, which is a muscle wasting illness. Gradually, average age to contract the disease is between 30 and 40 years old, and gradually debilitates you into a wheelchair and death. The worst thing of all was shakiness and nervousness. I mean, ataxia is an illness which attacks the nervous system. So the nerves, for me, just to carry shaking. When you're walking, you're shaking. When your gait gets worse, for walking for balance. But for that all to stop, and energy, I felt very fatigued all the time. I mean, all the time, just total. If I went out for a walk for 20 minutes, I had to go for a sleep. Legs would be sore, so I would feel very tired. And I've only medication I take is for acid indigestion, which I think every ataxia sufferer has. You just take one a day. It's common. All ataxia sufferers seem to suffer severe heartburn. There's nothing for you. They don't, because I think my illness is a very low percentage in all illnesses in the world. I don't think it's something they really want to look into. But I don't particularly think BCAT as such, when they started stem cell treatments, I don't think, oh, we want to cure ataxia SCA1. They've just found that it has a real good effect on SCA1. And I'm very fortunate to have this illness. So when I first heard about stem cell treatment, was one thing I wanted to try for my own illness. In my family, I have 3 sisters, 2 of whom have passed away through the illness. One was aged 42, one was aged 48, which left just my father and my other sister. My father is clear from the illness. It come from my mother's side. My other sister, remaining sister, is 53, I think. She has the illness, and myself has illness. I traced my family tree back to 1850, which there's over 33 deaths. So to hear of something that could maybe help, which there was nothing for previous family members, it was one thing I wanted to do for myself and for my children and for all my cousins who have the illness as well. Growing up, 2 of the eldest sisters had moved away from home as I grew up. I had one older sister. My mother, I remember when she was around 40 years old, she had started with illness. So growing up, my mother was disabled as such, walking with 1 stick, then grows on to 2 sticks, then in the wheelchair, then just totally relied on care all the time before her death. It took maybe till this was all through my early teens, I remember going to the doctors then, and the whole family then being offered a blood test. This would have been in 1983, 84. And they asked then if I wanted to know if I had the illness. And of course, at this age, you don't want to know. Why have the burden of knowing you have this? Oh, your life would be terrible. There's no point in knowing. Enjoy your life. So, all the way up till I was 21 when my mother had passed away. So I had grown up with illness and seeing it firsthand. I understood, and I suppose I kind of half expected to get the illness, say a 50-50 chance of getting it, but there was always that high possibility of getting it. Maybe 21, mother died, so a little older. My sister, a few years later, she had contracted the illness as well. I mean, throughout my family there's been uncles who I've grown up with, as it's a small place I live in, uncles, aunties, cousins, all with ataxia. So our family was quite a big family within the village, so everybody knew. They just say, oh, that's the family disease, you know. They see these people around the town and think, oh, it's normal, you know. It's normal to see them like this. So this was one of the reasons to come to China for stem cells, is to try and halt this. Everybody seems to be going through the motions as such, no help at home, just slowly deteriorate. Family disease. Purely through my own determination of browsing the internet, because of having heard of stem cell treatment and all possible things they had been doing. It was looking through the internet and finding the Beaker website on the internet. Yeah. Well, having heard of it was a guy I worked for. His son had been to Holland, I think it was, where there was a company there previously, a few years before, had been a scam for using stem cells. I was fairly skeptical about it, but having contacted the website and spoken to 2 previous patients, I was very much put at ease by these people, although there's still always a fear, oh, this could be a big scam, it could be these people could be actors, it could be anybody writing these emails. But no, I felt quite confident, you know, and even been able to, I think I must have conversed about 15 emails before I even contemplated coming to China, yeah. So I was confident enough. There were 2 I'd spoken to, one in Australia, one in Canada, and it was a family of 6 that had been, I think, for treatment, and they'd all told me the improvements and they were glad they'd come. And since myself having the treatment, having the similar results as to what he had told me, I have now spoken to 3 others with SCA1 who have come for the treatment, and they've all told me the exact same results as myself. So there's a definite history of stem cells and ataxia. So to come here last year was very daunting, to say the least, as I thought China was a very backward country behind us superpowers in the West, to say. So then coming here I was quite astonished to find, you know, the buildings, the workmanship, the hospitals, everything was just so much cleaner and better. And I think you know, I still go home and people still have this philosophy in China at being behind us, but they really need to see for themselves to believe it. Seeing is believing. Through various events, having dances and just general people in supermarket packing shopping and darts competitions, anything really, you know. And it was good because all my friends in the pub scene were thoroughly enjoyed to get out and have a darts competition, a pool competition. You know, it's good to get them out as well and raise money at the same time. You know, there's a perception in the UK that UK people are wealthy because the pound is strong compared to the dollar, the Chinese money. The pound is strong, but UK people, to find this sort of money, they can't afford this. It's I mean, you're talking over £10,000 on average for a treatment. That's a lot of money for anybody to try and save. If it wasn't for the generosity of the community I live in, it's impossible for me. Especially most of the people with disabilities don't work. They're relying on government funds in the UK, so you can't save if you're on government funds. I feel a little guilty, you know, asking people for money, but I'm so lucky I think to live in a community as I do, a smaller community and not a city, because I realise it's so much harder to raise money in a city. Not as many people know you, whereas generally where I come from and the next village I work in, you're talking about maybe over 30,000 people know who I am, yeah, through work and just general being around, you know. So yeah, I was very lucky. There is, I